What is a harmless behavior people do that actually screams psychological issues? Story 1. Yeah, people, you go to them and say, hey, when you did this or when you said that, it really hurt me. Please don't do that again. And they turn around and tell you that now they're hurt and they want you to apologize to them. Then they give you the silent treatment. Okay, so you hurt me and now you want me to apologize to you? Got it. Super toxic. I can't stand people who just give you silent treatment and ghost you when they can't communicate their emotions like an adult. Answer: was playing a game with someone. Asked if one of the goals in the game could be my responsibility. They agreed. Next day, they started doing that one thing, out of many. I mentioned they could do it, but I was hurt that they did after saying they would let me do it. They went, "You were the one that fished most of them." My bad, though, and that was it. Like, that has nothing to do with anything? I was quiet and just did my own thing because I was hurt, but I didn't ignore them or anything. Messaged them today and got short answers before they just stopped responding. The temptation to apologize for being upset that they went back on their word is immense, but like, dude, really? Story 2. Saying hurtful things and then laughing about it like it's hilarious and saying, nah, just kidding, but not really. Shh. Answer: I remember hearing a statistic that 70 of people who say just kidding, only joking aren't. I mean, the statistics is clearly BS, but I truly believe in the idea behind it. I think people say something mean or unkind hoping to be closer to a group, making a joke at someone's expense to then get the others to laugh and thus more liked. And if they try it and it doesn't work, then they just add on, just kidding. Story 3. I don't know if it's psychological issues, more like insecurity. But when someone is always telling you how great everyone else says they are, it's a real sign to me they are wildly insecure. Story 4. My mom thinks picking on me and teasing me is a way I want to receive love since she is okay with being treated that way. I repeatedly ask her to not, and she doesn't stop. And then, when I finally pop and hit her back, "How could you say that? Why are you so mean?" "I was just kidding. You always go for the jugular," etc. Well, I've asked you to stop for 20 years, so it would be great if you could find it in your heart to respect me. Answer: you're so vindictive. No, just playing with the same cards that are on the table from the Childish game they started. Very little difference, too, in their reaction than that of a child that can't handle losing a game without a fit. And it ages very badly past the age of kindergarten, especially so once they've procreated. The game is so fun as long as they're winning, by any means possible. And when no one wants to play anymore because playing with a sore loser is no fun, they are baffled. Why don't they talk to me anymore? Story 5. We get along great and we never argue. Yes, because you and your family friend partner are highly avoidant. You haven't processed a real emotion since 1992. You find the idea of discussing anything even slightly unpleasant terrifying, and you find people who actually feel their feelings to be dangerous. You stick to safe conversation about sports, music, and weather. You cope with the lack of connection and depth with secret addictive behaviors. You need therapy just to learn how to feel emotions again. Answer: this. My parents had their ups and downs, but they know how to argue and how to fight the right way when it comes to that. They didn't agree on much except for their morals and core values, but good Lord, living with them was like holding court every evening. Kinda cool getting to hear both sides of every argument, though, and it's made me really good at listening to people give their side of things, and am super patient and willing to compromise. My dude, on the other hand, his parents never had an argument, never fought, and the dad just one day said, "We should get a divorce," when the possibility of an old flame from high school showed up at a party and flirted. They were all retirement age. Decades of marriage, they was full of resentment and passive aggressiveness and pouting and stonewalling led to this one moment, and the mom was like, oh, okay. It's lead my person to being someone that does not know how to fight or argue or process uncomfortable emotions in a way that's productive. What he does mirrors what his parents do. When we hit something that's an argument, except I'm not his mom or dad. So he doesn't know what to do when I try to discuss unsafe conversations. An explanation is seen as an attack. Offering context is seen as an attack. Pretty much anything that is felt as criticism, disagreement, or even offering a different solution or way is seen as an attack. And he panics and goes into survival mode where he sees anything that isn't me going belly up as us not being a team because it makes him feel uncomfortable or bad. It's been hard, and I'm still trying because I'm the one with the toolkit and the skill set, but it's wearing thin on me now that he's going through a rough patch in his life. But I can't be someone's comfort object forever. I'm still here, but I can only do so much. But yeah, people who never argue, chances are you're emotionally constipated and you don't know how to work through things if they feel uncomfortable. Trust me, it won't eliminate you. You have to process the bad emotions now, or it'll just keep growing like cancer. Story 6. Never seeing their own accountability in the things that have gone wrong for them in life. Every ex was just crazy and jerk-etch. All of their old bosses were being unfair to them, and on and on. If they're the victim in every story, run. Separately, people who can't sit with their feelings and need to talk to someone to process every little thing. Like people who immediately call someone the second they're anxious because they can't be alone with that feeling. Story 7. Avoiding their issues, avoiding other people, putting space between themselves and others, and then wondering why they're so lonely. Story 8. One person I used to work with was always telling everyone I am a nice guy to his coworkers. Once you got to actually know him, he was anything but a nice guy. People that are actually nice do not walk around announcing it to others. Story 9. Love bombing. Showering a new romantic partner with gifts, praise, and affection. Generally moving too fast in the relationship. It's a common characteristic of borderline personality disorder. People with the disorder can be incredibly difficult. Not everyone is up for that challenge. Answer. Keep in mind that a lot of autistic and ADHD people also seem to love bomb, but it can be from a non-toxic, enthusiastic place, sometimes also with some naive involved. Like a lot of us were told how you should treat your partner, and we take stuff literally. So when someone says treat them like a king queen, we take it literally and are happy to do it. LOL. But it ends up looking like too much. For example, when I, ADHD, met my abusive ex, who displayed all of the classic toxic traits in hindsight, we more or less love-bombed each other. Except my affection was genuine and lasted until the breakup, whereas theirs was a very temporary smokescreen for their true personality, which was monstrous. Story 10. Terrible acute hygiene, like teeth, nails, hair, bathroom hygiene. Unless there is physical disability, of course. Story 11. Never being able to sit in silence. Always needing noise usually means they're running from something inside. Story 12. Always having to one-up someone's trauma. For example, if you say you broke your finger, then they say, well, I broke my whole arm once. I really dislike people who do that. Story 13. Turning every conversation to the same topic. Doesn't even matter what that topic is, a person should be able to talk about more than one thing. Shows obsessive behavior. Story 14. If you make politics your whole personality, then it's probably not really about the politics anymore. and you should be in therapy. Story 15. Getting all righteously offended and emotionally bent out of shape over what other responsible adults do. Story 16. Only using one headphone or covering one ear with a headset, even when living alone, so you can listen for your name being called. Story 17. Anyone who the friend group has to accommodate their poor behavior and, oh, that's just the way person's name is. You just need to get to know them. Story 18. I'm a grown jerk person that wants to be left to my own devices. I intentionally separated myself from people that were a part of my life, and they know why. They don't tell people why, though. I think it's a huge tell when people can't accept the consequences of their actions towards me and won't take no for an answer. I don't know what bullshit they tell themselves to rationalize their invasiveness towards my life, my body, my child, but it's fudge bizarre. All stalkers are mentally ill, and people who won't take no for an answer are just as mentally ill, telling yourself, I just want to know how she's doing, without her knowing, even though I know she wants nothing to do with me and made the decision to walk out of my door and never look back because of how I treated her, is not harmless. It's actually fudge sick. Story 19. If someone seems to have a deeply ingrained sense of inadequacy, reacts strongly to criticism of any kind to the point of being defensive, angry, or withdrawn, appears shy, withdrawn, or even socially anxious. Need for validation. Actually, that's pointing to vulnerable narcissism. The tells are blame shifting, passive-aggressive behavior, difficulty with intimacy, trust, and fear of abandonment. Story 20. Cry a lot for everything. We romanticize, it's okay to cry, yes. Not for everything, not as a use of manipulation. Story 21. Drinking alone. Social drinking in one thing, but everyone I've met who drinks on their own is self-medicating something. Also, regularly forgetting important things, whether business meetings, hygiene, or friends' birthdays. Maybe you're ADHD and genuinely forgot. Maybe you're anxious about it and lied so you didn't have to go. Maybe you're bipolar and having a depressed swing and literally couldn't get out of bed. Maybe you just weren't raised in a place where you had to take responsibility for your adult actions and are a man-child as a result. Everyone can have a flub up now and then, but missing a bunch of regular adult obligations is usually a sign of something more. Story 22. If you can't reflect on multiple times you were wrong about something you firmly believed in and change your position, you're probably the problem. Changing your mind when presented facts and hard evidence is a sign of maturity and intelligence. You can defeat 100 scholars with one fact, but you will lose to one fool with 100 facts. Yet a lot of people are proud of not moving on different issues. They convince themselves they are the righteous and virtuous ones, and that anyone opposing them is bad and evil. Think about all the beliefs you hold right now on different issues, like Israel and Palestine, religion in general, trans issues, illegal immigration in the US and other countries, etc., etc. If you're saying to yourself right now that you would never change your stance on these issues no matter what, even if you're presented with overwhelming evidence that says you're wrong, you are the fool, no matter what side you're on. If you're not learning anything new and taking it in, you're not growing as a person. You're regressing. It doesn't make you a bad person to question things. It doesn't make you a bad person to accept reality even when it doesn't feel good. Just because you want reality to be a certain way doesn't mean that's what it is at the end of the day. There's a path to peace for everyone, but there are a ton of obstacles that refuse to be overcome. A sea of fools that'll never waver. People who think they can tell you how to live your own private life and think they can overwrite your rights as a human being. And even opposing fools who think they can do the same thing in the opposite direction. Story 23. People who frequently post glowing tributes to their partner or their strength as a couple on social media. It's often accompanied by a self-congratulatory caption that indicate they've got it all figured out. The way I knew Ben was my person is when he healed past wounds that I didn't realize I had from my broken relationship with my father. Oddly specific? Surprisingly not. Like, what snake oil are you about to try to sell me? Story 24. People only being able to describe you as very nice. Oftentimes, those people are being taken advantage of, walked over, and people pleasers. Story 25. Having a constant need to put down everyone around them. They go on 20-minute monologue on what you or someone did to them in response to you telling them for 2 min a thing which they did. Story 26. Trauma, silent walking, constant apologizing. Causes trauma. No conversation can be about anyone else for very long. Their mood dictates everyone else is near them. Story 27. Shutting down at the first sign of conflict, especially if it was their actions that caused it, and refusing to talk it out, then getting upset and blaming the other person once it all explodes. Story 28. Passive-aggressive. At least I'm not like them attitudes. It is usually hiding pretty toxic issues. Edit. Also, if they have their new partner message their ex just to finally say, "Hey, I've moved on," they clearly haven't. That's a major "I need therapy and have done nothing with my life" red flag. Sadly, I've seen it happen once. A fike. The guy still can't keep a job and never moved out of his parents' house. Story 29. Gatekeeping or withholding information while also demanding you use the information as though it's not being withheld. Story 30. Toxic competitiveness. When people try to be better in every context. When someone constantly redirects the conversation to themselves, e.g., you say I get scared of this, and they're like, you get scared, I never get scared. Story 31. Not being able to say no to their kids. My Sil can say no to the kids when it comes to disciple stuff, but she can't say no when it comes to spoiling them with toys and whatnot. She grew up poor, her parents had limited skills, so they worked at a crappy factory, and they were dumb with money in general. She also has a worthless brother who causes tons of issues for the family to this day. Simply put, she went without quite often. As a result, she doesn't want to say no when it comes to stuff. Story 32. Spanking. I was spanked as a kid and I turned out fine. No, you didn't. You grew up to be a person who thinks it's acceptable to hit children. Story 33. My MIL likes to give herself a pat on the back for anything good my husband does. She'll say things like, "Well, I'm not surprised because he's my son." Story 34. Tla doctor. I drive for a living and hauled a very demanding smoker. The harmless behavior. Asking for a piece of gum. I drive medical taxis for a living, so I see all those sorts of characters. From really sweet old ladies to vegetative people to crankies to people that can't remember where they were 5 minutes ago. The best answer I have for this prompt is a strange one. I often chew gum while I'm driving to help stay sane and entertained. Sometimes I'll offer a piece to a passenger I know can have some and is nice. But I've never had anyone ask for one, except once. One day, I picked up a heavy set. Lady in a wheelchair from a hospital that is now closed, and she was going to a nursing home an hour away. As we were headed up the freeway, I grabbed a piece of gum, which then prompted her to ask for some. I've never had anyone ask for a piece of gum, but it seemed a reasonable request, so I obliged. She and I spoke some, but I don't remember the topics other than how she wanted to stop for some smokes. a big no-no in my line of work, but when I got her to the nursing home, she suddenly became very demanding, ordering me around and telling me, not asking me, to stop at nurses' stations, demanding to know if the nurses had her smokes, and raising a huge fuss when they didn't. The last clearly had a cigarette addiction, and it was bad. And that explains the need for some gum, because smokers often chew it to help with addiction cravings. So I guess my answer to the question is, asking your driver for a piece of gum. Story 35. Any typically harmless behavior that is done excessively or in situations where it is inappropriate or counterproductive and in a manner which suggests that the individual is not capable of altering their behavior. Story 36. People who make being depressed or my traumas their entire personality when, in all actuality, it's just attention-seeking behavior. 90 of people under probably 40-ish don't have a single clue what actual trauma is.